Our next hearing will be Tuesday, February 28th. 8 And we will now swear in the staff. And Louis, we just get. Sorry. Okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I do.
Okay, thank you. And roll call, please, Louis.
Yep. So, Steve Whitman, Mike Luss,
Here.
Bob Loversage,
Here.
Anna Maniaci,
Here.
Tony Slanek,
Here.
Trudy Bartley, not here. Otto Beatty.
Here.
Jennifer Rittler, not here. We have a quorum.
And Louis, you will do the overview of the hearing format?
Yes, so it will be, the order of speaking is going to be that city staff will present application materials. Applicant will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials. And we welcome speakers from the audience, but we ask that they limit their discussion to 3 minutes. And if they do want to speak, please come to the front of the room and to discuss it. And then commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions if needed.
And then, Louis, you'll read the public forum? Or was that?
So the public forum is just,
Oh, it's the same, okay.
if anybody wishes to address the commission on matters not posted on the agenda, they're invited to do so.
Okay, and then we'll have the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. And do we have a motion for a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have no continued applications, so we're starting with the new application, and this is a request for action, and it is the Drury Development Corporation.
Okay, so the first case is at 88 East Nationwide Boulevard. Hold that up here on the map. Right here, just south of the convention center, to the west of North 3rd Street, north of Nationwide Boulevard here. I did do a site visit of the location, so I do have some pictures. Here's the front of the hotel. This is the west side of the hotel. The east side and the north side are bounded by the interstate, pretty much the convention center, so I couldn't get a good image of those sides. I did get this side from far away. This is the east side of the hotel, but you can see that it's very similar to the front.
Lovely Columbus Day.
Yeah, you tell I did this yesterday. This is the entry. There's going to be a canopy installed. Here's my installation, my understanding, but we'll let the applicant discuss that a little bit more, modifications to the canopy. And then this is just to give you an idea of what's around the area. This is to the south, across the street. And of course, the convention center directly. So our staff report is that they're proposing upgrades to the exterior of the existing Drury Inn and Suites Hotel. The exterior will receive new paint and cladding. The mansard roof will be replaced with a parapet. The entrance canopy will be replaced. Decorative metal screening will cover over the garage openings. Currently it's open. And a new sign package will be installed. Materials will consist of IFIS, stone veneer, and metal garage screening. Our analysis is that the guidelines state that downtown will continue to be enhanced and energized with additions to existing structures that promote good design, long-lasting building construction, and attention to detail. Building materials should be of high quality and durability, and buildings should not be dominated by graphics. So in summary, the proposal generally meets the guidelines with regards to design principles and graphics. Steve Whitman is here now.
Thank you.
For the record.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicants come up, please? Morning.
Good morning.
Could you identify yourselves for the record?
Graham Root with Drury Development.
I'm Mark Cole with Drury Development.
And would you raise your right hands? And do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much.
Graham, and I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Mark
Mark and last name?
Cole, K-O-H-L.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about the project, if you would. Obviously, we've got drawings, and pictures, and so on. So-
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to use my little cheat sheet as well over here. So thank you, Chairman Whitman and members of the Downtown Commission. As we just mentioned, my name is Graham Roop. I'm a development associate of Drury Development Corporation out of St. Louis, Missouri. The owner of the 180-room Drury Inn and Suites located just directly adjacent to the Columbus Convention Center. Also here with me this morning is Senior Vice President Mark Cole. Our hotel was built in 2002, and customarily we perform an interior renovation about every 10 years or so. While we continue to be long-term members of the community here in Columbus, we are also planning to reinvest in the exterior of the building and will furthermore be converting to a Drury Plaza Hotel, which is our more upscale brand within our system. This morning, we are here seeking your approval to complete the necessary exterior improvements to bring our building up to our brand standard and further complement the buildings around us. So this morning, I wasn't really intending on walking through the robust 34 pages that we gave you guys.
Thank you.
You are welcome. But I can touch on the primary changes that we've proposed. And if you have any questions, Mark and I can answer those as they come up or at the end, however you'd like to do that.
Could I just ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Are the changes part of a national standard that you said you're upgrading the hotel to like upscale brand? And are the changes you're making are they dictated by, let's say, a national standard for the hotel, or are they more individual changes for this property?
Mark, I'm going to defer to you on that one.
Yes, ma'am. We're constantly evaluating our portfolio, and really they're based on an individual analysis. This one in particular is a unique building from a format standpoint with parking in the building. So you won't find but one other that looks like this. This is being converted to a Drury Plaza Hotel, which we are starting the process of converting certain projects within our portfolio, but not all. So here we've analyzed the market and believe that it can support it, and it's time for an interior renovation. So we'd like to make these exterior improvements all as one package to carry it forward to the future.
What would be, the 5 bullet points that make this particular different product? Or
Sure. The Drury Plaza, from that standpoint, the interior finishes in the lobby will have some upgraded finishes and et cetera. The offerings relative to the food service and also some of the beverage offerings that we do from a complimentary standpoint will be different. In addition, here we're adding what we're calling a kitchen plus bar concept. So it will be, in addition to the complimentary food and drinks that we offer, we will also have a retail bar area with a light food menu in it. So those would be the main changes to the common areas of the building.
Sure, I understood the answer to Janice's question. Is this the exterior design? Is this a Columbus design, or is this an adaptation of something you're doing all over the portfolio?
Yeah, well, this building is not prototypical. So we only have 2 that are built in this configuration. This is the first of those 2 that are being re-imaged from the exterior perspective. So from that standpoint, this is the first and one of only 2 that will look like this. Our other buildings are our prototype. Standard prototype is not more of this square. It's more of a rectangular. You may have recognized one in Grove City or some other suburban areas around town.
Okay. And so those tend to be what, 2 or 3 story buildings?
Most of those are 7 stories.
Oh, they are?
Yes, right.
Surface part.
Correct. Correct.
Any questions? I mean, this is the proposal. Now, by the way, you're asking for approval today, is that right?
Yes.
Do you have samples for us today? I saw your pictures in there, but, the actual samples of the IFAS screening, the stone veneer, we'd like to have that when we approve it, so we know what we're approving.
Okay.
I apologize, that was probably my fault, I'm still thinking in the electronic version. I did not request that they bring a sample, just a material sheet.
Okay. How about the windows? Do those change?
No, sir.
So really what you're talking about is the configuration of those front masses of the building there, new materials on there. Is that correct?
Yes, there will be new colors.
And how about how about the ground floor along there? Can we switch back to there we go, thanks. So you've got a lot, or at least some amount more glass along the front, it looks like to me. Oh, I guess it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Well, it's pretty much the same.
the canopies and
What's everybody want to do? Do we have sufficient detail here on this thing?
there's a lot of detail in the drawings.
Okay.
And
And I would point out that you are asking for the new signs as well then.
Yes, sir.
What's,
are there any site plan or landscaping changes?
No major landscaping changes. We have some accent beds and things that that evolve over time around our signs and things, but nothing significant.
I think it's an improvement of what's there.
I think it's big improvement.
well, it'll be nice and new too, and so.
I have a question about, on the original drawing, you have a pediment detail, and then there's glazing in that pediment. And is that spandrel glass?
Can we switch that elevation again there?
Yeah, so you see the upper, right in the middle, where there's the pitched roof with that pediment, and there, it looks like there's glazing right under there. So is that, on the original, is that clear glass, or is that a spandrel glass with nothing really behind it?
And I can't tell you the makeup of the glass itself, but I can tell you that there is non-occupied space behind it. So there's not a raised roof element in the top floor of that building.
Right, because my comment was on the new building, you stop the glazing, and you have a straight line going across, and that's probably the design choice that you wanted, and it looks nice, but if there was really something behind that, I was thinking maybe you could add the glazing, but because there isn't, there doesn't seem to be a.
So also it looks like all of the existing brick remains, is that correct?
If you flip to the front elevation, a minor change here would be on the columns around the canopies and on flanking the sides. The brick is getting reclad with a stone product. So to add some additional dimension there and different material.
Okay. Well, what's the pleasure of the group then? Questions, thoughts, comments?
Is that there is no new ephes on the project except where you're patching, it's just existing ephes that's being repainted, or are you adding new ephes as well? Oh, all that?
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, yeah, the portion of the parapet there that's gonna be reconstructed is ultimately gonna.
But on the actual building, the existing portion that underneath it, this is existing, that is repainted?
It is existing, but there will be portions of it that will have additional depth to it. So we'll go in over it and add additional ephes to give that depth, if that makes sense.
You don't have anything that's existing brick that's being covered with ephes?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So traditionally, the first floor of any of our buildings are hard surface materials. And so the brick that's being covered up there is being covered up with a hard stone material.
Okay. With this change, is there any change to that the company's looking towards the different type of target customer? Any difference in the business plan in making these changes? I mean, obviously it's an older hotel.
Yeah,
All of the time.
obviously we want to stay relevant within the market. And so the interior improvements were needed regardless. But here we've appreciated a good run so far in the city of Columbus, and we want to invest the dollars to carry it forward for another 20 years or however long it can be a viable asset. So we anticipate there may be some lift, but largely it's a matter of the overall area, the convention business, and the nature of the convention business, et cetera, as to who our customers are.
So who would you describe as your target customer for your product overall?
Well, in this location, the convention center drives a lot of it, downtown business customers during the week. And then we're fortunate that on the weekends, we do still pull, even in a downtown location like this, a lot of families and leisure, both for the activities that are here local and then in the near perimeter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second then? Mike? Thank you. So the motion is on the floor. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Anything from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I always thought approving that building would have been a mistake.
So,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
well, thank you for making an investment in the exterior, because they don't really have to. They've got the customer base, they can live in the inside, and not spend a nickel.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes you move things up, but you get a little bit better and you go after a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a major investment to
Oh,
on the outside.
Yeah, yeah. And interestingly, they even did the back of the thing. Basis part, that doesn't do much, or the west side of it. Very good. Next case, please.
Sure. Next case we have is here at 322 Mount Vernon Avenue, the Ballet Met, between North 6th, north of Mount Vernon, and North Grant Avenue. I went out and I did a site visit of the location. So here's the south elevation of the building. You can see this garage door here. This is going to be part of the proposal. They're in for conceptual review, by the way. Here's a close-up of that garage door and another. You can see they have the original kind of, this may have been originally like an arched entryway or something, but now it's been replaced by a garage door. This is the building directly to the east. And this is the view to the south, just the parking lot to give some context. This is the western side of the building. You can see this is where the entryway is that they're discussing modifying right here, this alley between the two buildings. Here you can see a view looking southeast at the building and the alley that is up for changes. Here's a close-up of this metal flashing that will be removed, is my understanding. There will be minor changes to the back of the building. These two stairways will remove. And then this section right here, which looks like a later addition onto the building, has some cinder block and some different colored brick. This will also be removed, if I'm understanding correctly. Here is the view looking west for some context. And here's just and here's a parking lot to the northeast.
Yep.
And a detail on the Brick Street there. So with that, let me pull the staff report up. So they're proposing the addition of a one-story high-bay structure of roughly 3,000 square feet between the Academy Building in the south and the Performance Building in the north. Demolition work will be required consisting of small building elements that I pointed out to you. The guidelines state that building owners are encouraged to conserve and rehabilitate contributing buildings. In addition, should be complementary and not detract from the building's essential character. Contemporary design and materials are appropriate, but should be compatible with the scale and proportion of the building. In summary, the applicant is seeking a conceptual review. Staff has notified the applicant that further details will need to be submitted to ensure consistency with the guidelines. And just for your reference, this is not a locally listed historic building in any sense. So this will be the With that,
Very good. Would the applicants come up, please? And if you need another chair, bring another chair with you. Or could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
I'm Kayla Mahoney. Check the JVAT.
Okay, is it Kayla? Or
Kayla
Can
Mahoney.
did you, oh, and you got that, Lucas?
Caleb Maloney,
Mahoney.
Mahoney.
Okay, good.
Jonathan Barnes.
Good. Would you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say, I do.
I do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So we've been working with the ballet for a few years, primarily on some much needed interior renovations of the Academy building, which is the historic brick building. Also the Performance building, which is the not so historic warehouse building next door. This is the third phase of this project where we're connecting the two. We're just calling it a connector. Primarily to be used for, I would say, an expanded entry lobby and lounge for students and dancers, and for functions when they have fundraising events, things like that. So I'll let Kayla kind of run through.
Sure. So this presentation today kind of comes in two parts. The new
Speak
build.
up a little bit.
Yeah, if you could speak, maybe if you use that, there we go. Thanks so much.
Listening. So it's in two parts, this new build, which is the glass box between the two, and then miscellaneous selective demo, which is described here. So I'll start with this. So we are working, which has, a lot of cleanup that we have to do as we get started here. So looking east and that top corner to remove that metal structure above the old loading dock. We're no longer using that loading dock as part of this concept. So that door will be removed and eventually there will be a ticket window in that space. So this entrance here will probably, I think, 8 steps up to grade and to the current level. You can see the stone base up there underneath those windows. That's where we need to be to connect these two buildings. The other portions, let's go to the bottom left picture. There is the south elevation of the Academy building, where we are going to be removing this garage door and filled it on the backside. That's part of their costume storage. So we've talked about, providing additional details of how exactly we're doing that. A lot of this and a lot of these pieces we're hoping to get approval to do today from this meeting, so that, some of it is a tad exploratory because we don't know what's behind all of these structures. But if you go, and then I guess the last portion is the existing steel overhead, that back door in the bottom right photo. There's that steel that overhangs on that garage door, and then 2 brick buildings. One encloses, I believe, a boiler room, and we're hoping to just restore that facade to the kind of lighter, brighter brick color that you would see from the park. And then that's a site plan of some of the selective demo items. Mostly in the alley, and then the one on the south facade of the Academy building. Sure, that'd be great, yeah.
So you can see there's an entry on both sides.
Yeah, so this is the connector in the middle. It's about 3,300 square feet. We have 2 entrances. And in general, this connector is going to serve as a new front door to the ballet. If you've been to the ballet, it's kind of difficult to know where to enter. So this will be, we see the west side of this being as like a student drop-off area. And then the east side is coming directly from the park. Both will serve as, a place for students and parents to hang out without kind of disrupting the class function in either of the 2 spaces.
And the large textured floor area there is concrete, is that the idea?
It
And
is.
then outside on the east side is, you're going to use some of the brick that's existing in the alleyway?
Correct. Well, no, not from the alleyway. Those bricks are pretty crumbled.
Oh, I
We
think-
have, if you've ever been over there on the south side, there's historic bricks. They're kind of dark maroon. We're hoping.
You
to
mean the
use-
sidewalk area? there?
Yes. Yeah, we're hoping to, the ballet has some of those stored that we would like to use on the east side.
Are both entrances accessible?
The east side is accessible, and it's directly from the park. That will be all.
Mentioned a ticket window on the west side.
Yeah.
And when Mike was asking about the accessibility, I'm wondering, because the ticket window is on the side that isn't accessible, if that's something that you're concerned about, or you feel there's a way that somebody that the accessibility, how they would access it, or do you feel they would access it from inside the building?
I believe they would come through to check with the ballet. The point of the multiple ticket windows is to just be able to take on, more demand right for a show. So it's not that any of it would after hours where you wouldn't be able to get into the building. And then in the center is kind of the center of the character is going to be their full-time staffed, like, reception desk.
What's that long corridor going? I mean, that shows up in your drawing here. Does that, other than just having an entry door there in the alleyway, does that do anything that we need to pay attention to? It doesn't connect to the, doesn't look like it connects to the overhead garage door you're taking out, right? It just runs, is that where that existing hallway is that runs north-south through the building? And is that door there right now, the
That
existing?
door is not there.
There is a door in the back, though.
There is, there
That
are
leads to a
doors.
hallway that runs through the building.
This is a new, it's cutting into one of the studio, so it will be new.
Okay, so you're gonna change the studio, the configuration.
Yeah, just a way to get from this connector space to the rest of the building, the building. That new corridor splits two studios and it joins the east-west corridor.
Is there any, so the main entrance for people is really from the parking lot, right? I mean,
Day-to-day,
pardon?
day-to-day entrance.
Yeah. The new entrance on that side, it doesn't have a canopy over it, or any kind of weather protection or vestibule. I
Can
mean,
you
it
turn
seems
back to
like
that?
little girls in their little outfits coming in there. It just seems like it's kind of unprotected.
The east entry?
Well, both entries really, but there is a canopy over the west entry, right?
Well,
But this
no,
looks,
that's a question I've got too. While we're talking, is that glass wall back? It's up the stairs and back, right? Or
This is
it-
the east side.
Can you switch back to the,
The west side will look
oh,
the same.
hang on. Whoop, back, okay. Here, there, right there. Where the door is, that's where the glass wall is, right?
Yes,
So all of that is open, that area, up the steps then. right?
correct.
Yeah, I don't know if that related to what you were asking.
yeah. And the doors will,
So there's a question, I mean, do you need protection from rain?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't discussed with the valley, but it's something we can talk to them about.
What about the signage? What do you guys think?
Talked about signage. At one point, we were thinking about, a large kind of mural, CMU, all of the proposed building, but they,
On which wall then, please?
well, we're not going to go with that at this point. The ballet they changed their logo quite frequently, and just from a cost perspective,
Guys, I would say you come back with that. We don't need to hash. It's maybe a question.
If it happens, we'll let you know.
they,
But
Yeah.
and we're very open to, they have a new logo, let's put it.
they see it as.
We
kind
know
of a
you
vital
people will be
signage.
tasteful, so.
Yeah.
We can kind of handle that on the fly. If everybody, I don't mean to be
Yeah.
speaking for the group, but
I have two just maybe two comments that as you develop the project, you might be interested in. If you have on the Academy building, on the north facade, I think there are 3 windows that are right now, they're arched windows and they're blocked in. And then there's a 4th one that isn't. And I think all 4 of those are going to be enclosed by the connector. So I'm wondering, just depending on what's happening functionally in the Academy building, if there's an opportunity to, the one that, has glass now, how will you treat that? Are you going to leave it as is? Will you just open it and have it change the glass? And the ones that are blocked in, is there any interest in maybe opening those? Would that make the space dynamic on the other side or make it interesting on the side?
There are lots of open windows there.
Well, I think those 3 and then that 4th.
But then there are 4 other ones that are,
Right, but those I don't think are those?
Those 3 that are blocked up and the one that's open to the
Right.
right of it will be inside the.
Yeah, and I think those 4
Yeah.
are going to be inside the connector. Is that correct?
No.
I don't think the other ones are, but I don't.
The 3 openings that are blocked up and the one just to the west of that,
Mhm.
that one there will be inside the connector.
Yes, that's what I.
Yeah.
The others are outside.
So I'm wondering, those 4 windows that Louis is moving the cursor back and forth, do you have any, as maybe, I know you're still in the conceptual stage, but do you have any thoughts on that? If you want to just leave everything as is or do something with that?
Current plan for those 3 that are is unfortunately to leave them. We would love for them to be open, but because we're connecting 2 buildings, those are both our fires. So even the one that's in will have a fire shutter on the other side in their studio space. So yeah, the design was certainly to not block, as they want that light in their studio space, that corner studio.
This is a fire rated wall. The other thing is with this connector being a place that people occupy, they didn't really want a lot of people from the connector looking into the studios necessarily, distracting the dancers.
Okay, and then the other comment, the south side of the Academy building,
Yeah.
you have the rolling door that is going to be infilled, and I think it's going to be filled with ethos. And I'm wondering if you had thought of possibly trying to match the existing material and maybe putting back the coin either side. So I'm just not sure how you, when you refill that, how you see that being handled, because it might be an opportunity to really match and restore it to what it was originally. And also, it is a prominent facade and next to a nice building. So it's just something maybe to think about how you want to handle that infill.
Yeah, I think our approach right now is that, that garage door was kind of there all the time, and we're really trying to recreate the history of it. It's more of just a cut and a blank wall. And again, I'd like to use this as kind of a backdrop for vinyl signage to promote some other future ballets. So we don't think it's going to be an eyesore. We think it will mostly be covered up.
I've been waiting for years and years and years for somebody to get rid of that ugly door.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is much of an improvement.
Well, so, our attitude is rather than try to recreate what was unfortunately, and I would say less skillfully
garage door.
fabricated door opening, they just cut right through the set of brick pilaster. Rather than trying to recreate what's gone, to us, it's kind of like a scar. It's sort of the history of the ballet. Maybe it's not the prettiest moment of the history of the ballet or the building, but it happened and it's there. And rather than try to make it go away, we try to recreate something that we can't. We thought we would just let it be as it is and just clean it up, make it something that's more
Well,
background.
I think if you get a banner of some sort on there, graphic of some sort,
Well,
You could do, I don't know, maybe you can finesse something around them that creates a kind of a frame, I don't know, but I'm inclined to agree, I don't know that I would. At any rate, you're hearing a comment.
so is the connector space, is that an abandoned public alley? Is it?
Yes. It's actually at a name, a street of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was privatized. I do know they did take the sanitary line with them when they gave it to the ballet.
Oh.
So we deal with that, but
That's exciting.
For no utilities in that.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you have an hour? Something we have to deal with.
Yeah, we don't need to get, the city retained an easement when that was required. Let's see.
Essentially, we're trying to do something that's has very minimal intervention, I think you could say. We're not trying to, create a new image for the lot, for the ballet. We're trying to do something very simple and cost effective, that fits their needs.
I think it's
Any,
great.
any other questions or comments? I like it too. I think it's good.
So this is conceptual, so we will be back and we'll be addressing some of these issues, including the sort of entry cover, which I think is a fair question. To move things along, we would like to get approval to remove those two bumps that are on the alley side, on the left side, on that image right there, those brick structures that Kayla mentioned that has a
Well, can we-
decommissioned boiler and something else, that stuff.
Now, somebody made some comment about taking one of the structures, leaving it and cleaning the brick. I thought I heard somebody say that.
Taking those structures
Look
away,
right there.
hopefully restoring what's behind it to look more like the rest of the wall.
So that whole brick structure there where the boiler room is, that goes away.
Right.
And that metal thing there that goes
Exactly.
away.
That'll be an improvement just by demolition.
Okay, and the little, I think is that metal clad on the very right there, the little small thing?
Yeah, it's a
Where the
wood
pointer is?
shack thing.
Okay.
So how do we do that? You need a permit for that, right? So we have to give you certificate of appropriateness for,
Is that used for anything anymore then, or anything?
So,
So my name is Ed Reynolds, construction.
Were you sworn in?
you
Would you step up for just a second, Ed, please? Would you identify yourself for the record?
Ed Rinaldi with Hanlon Rinaldi Construction.
Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
So we would like to get those buildings down so that we can all see what's back there and then address what we have to do, what we have, so we know what we have to do with it. And the same thing goes for that door. I'd like to get that door down. We can see what we're dealing with.
You mean the canopy thing?
The garage door
garage
up front also.
Oh, yeah, right.
And to your comment, Bob, in an effort to take this back area down earlier, we cannot get a demolition permit without downtown commission approval.
that's what I was just clarifying. We have to figure out how to do that.
You don't need a demolition permit to remove that garage door.
No.
No, but
to
this
take
stuff.
that down.
Yeah. Okay, what's everybody think about
So
that?
I didn't know, I wasn't informed that they were gonna seek a demolition or I would have guided.
Well, that's okay.
That's fine. I don't think we have an issue with it. We just need to know how to craft it.
Sure.
And it's literally just stuck onto the building. So you're gonna find doorways that let you into these spaces, or at least one.
They provided demolition drawings, if you want to say that. Or you also want to move this in this section as well? The northern stuff that's there, or
No, not at this point.
just the southern? So if you guys want to pass a resolution to,
Stuff stuck onto the building there.
Yeah.
North end and south to it. What's everybody's pleasure on that?
To approve the demolition.
Tony, okay, there's a motion to approve, and that basically means those three structures. The small one to the west, the brick thing that's sticking out and the canopy over the overhead door.
And the garage door.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Second,
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor.
We need to add the garage.
In the front,
yeah, the garage door on the south.
and he says, no, we don't need that.
It doesn't need to be part of the,
Oh, I know, but do you need a demolition permit to remove the garage door?
It's included in case you.
Okay, so it's included if they need it.
Can we
Okay.
call it selective demolition?
Yep. If it wants to parse it, if we get then have at it. But- Okay. Questions or comments?
Not going to ask for anything from the audience because I know where the audience is.
I think it's.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
I have a quick question. What? We approved the removal of the garage door. What is gonna be back there and how are you going to, my understanding is just like a 2x4 wall right now, correct?
It's a stone wall.
So when they remove the garage door, what will be there visible? Like, will there be an exterior sheeting?
Okay,
You guys are okay with that being visible?
everybody understands that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so we can issue the permit for the demolition. Okay, let's just wrap this up then. Are there any other thoughts or comments? Anything you need to know from us or else? I think what you're hearing is it looks good.
Yeah.
And everything I think you're doing kind of makes sense.
The addition.
Yeah, I think it's great. Well, it's a nice use of the space because the space
Yeah.
does absolutely nothing. And in a way, kind of interferes a little bit with the traffic pattern, so.
Are you
so I
doing any
think
landscaping or lighting or
Exterior,
block revisions or anything?
exterior.
Yeah.
Landscaping, probably not. I mean, it's a pretty urban environment, so we kind of,
Yeah.
probably want it to remain. Lighting, we can address that as well.
Are the bollards that you're proposing, will they?
Could be.
why don't you come to us with some lighting that you'd like to do? Does that make sense to everybody?
Well, yeah. Anything else that's
Sure.
Yeah.
finish the project, sure.
Yeah. Okay, and then please, when you come back, bring samples and so on, because we want to be very specific about what we're approving. Yes, I'm sorry, Ed?
So, one other question. In your line of questioning, you brought up, handicap access from 6th Street. And you also brought up the question about covered canopies. So where do we go regarding, do we have to do that to get your approval when we come back, or is that
Well, I
something?
think at this point, it's conceptual. We've made some comments and suggestions. It's up to you to figure out what you want to do with them.
Okay.
I also recommend that when you come back, somebody available for the executive team. As you've seen, sitting here many times to, understand from the end user is helpful to us. Those questions kind of come up by sometimes. Sort of what are they? So just a suggestion.
Okay. Anything else? I think you've heard thoughts and comments. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
John, just to explain it, because you're here a lot, we're trying to make a concentrated effort to get owners to come to these hearings, because when we make changes or request changes or whatever, we want them nodding.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some issues with a couple projects, not yours, but that's the rationale behind that.
Or a question comes up and there's really not an answer for it. So.
Owners ask us that all the time, really, should I go? And I've usually left it up to them, but, since that's a preference, I'll keep that in mind.
Going forward, I would say that's.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Are you guys, you understand where we are, I think?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
So before I forget, yearly we vote for a chair and a vice chair. So next month we can vote on that. If anybody would like to nominate someone or nominate themselves or let me know via email. take care of it then.
Another highly contested election.
Oh, yes. And then staff approved applications, some egress stairs, wall signs, add murals, rear fire escape, views, windows, lots of things were done, HRC reviewed as well, so.
Hey, I had one question. Can we go back to the, of course, then I should have played here, but I beg everybody's pardon on that one. One of the cases, can you turn back to the minutes from the last meeting?
Okay, before I forget, can I get an approval of the staff
Yeah, I
minutes?
move approval of staff
Second,
action.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is-
You want the minutes from the last?
Yeah, just real quick, I had a question on that. Okay, scroll down just a little bit. Let's see. Oh. When we have the motion here, and then in the discussion, one of the comments was, Colin said it could be adjusted if that were a cause for approval. So did that just remain open? Because then you say approve the proposal as presented, which would indicate that we did not do that as a requirement. Is that
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Right, so many times the applicant says, well, we can do that if you want, but unless you say,
We want
you
you
want
to
to adopt that as a condition, then.
Okay, that answers my question. So I think that's just one more thing, that if we really want to do that, we got to say, let's,
Part of the motion.
put it part of the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Anything else for us?
No, and I don't want to, I mean, and if that comes up, I can also remind you if you'd like, I just don't want to get too involved. I
Oh, no,
can't, sometimes
that's
I
fine.
think,
All I want to do is when we've got to keep striving to make sure that we approve very specific things. And then that we keep a record of what we have actually literally
yes,
approved. That's all I'm getting to.
yes.
All I wanted to make one quick, are we open for discussion? Anything else you want to do with us?
Yeah, no, open discussions.
Okay, everybody got this, I guess it was a survey that Mark Villas or somebody sent out,
I sent it to you on behalf of the planning division, yes.
on behalf of the planning division. And I just wanted to discuss this. What I said, my comments were, it was very simple, frankly, I didn't have really much to say. I think we do. They said, what are your positives and negatives? And I think we do a very good job. I think, I just said we all need to remember that we want to be prepared for these meetings and we want to be involved, and I think we did. And by the way, our for example, our attendance is, and has been always very good. So I think we do a good job on that. What I did think was that I think we have to keep hammering on is that we want to make sure that the applicants are prepared. That we have drawings that are well done and very specific and bring in samples so we can see it, so we know what we're approving. And I think Lewis, by the way, I went on to say that I think we do a good job of that, and I blame that on Lewis. So, so anyway, that's all I had, and I just think everybody does a good job here on this group, and I think, occasionally we're gonna get somebody that doesn't like what we say, but that's life. So, anyway, yes.
One thing I'll add, I mean, I think that this commission does a very good job of giving straight feedback. And we're efficient, provide good feedback, we're efficient, we're not too laborious, and we move cases along fairly quickly. I think it's a very efficient commission.
And we do have a goal of 1 hour meetings, and occasionally that does not come to pass also, but, so. Okay. Anything else?
I'll make sure they bring material samples. We've had a couple come in like that and it was okay, so
Well, it's like anything else. There's some of them where you need it more than other ones. But on the other hand, you can't say A has to do something and B doesn't have.
Of course,
to do it, because all of a sudden we're going to be in trouble too. So, good. Anything else from anybody? Happy New Year, everybody. Here we are, 23.